Hello, this is Todd Killian from the Christmas Clatter Podcast. What makes Christmas special to you? Is it the movies or the music, the food or family, the gifts or decorations? Maybe those quiet moments of reflection. Whatever it is, join me for Christmas Clatter, a monthly podcast dedicated to everything that makes Christmas special. Visit ChristmasClatter.com for all social media links and find Christmas Clatter Podcast on all podcast apps. Thank you, and remember, keep Christmas hope alive every day.
All right, we're back, and right now we have Todd from Christmas Clatter Podcast. How are you, Todd?
Doing well, Manny. Doing well. Thanks for having me.
All right, and the reason we have Todd today, it's because we're 4 weeks till Christmas Eve, and as we all know, Santa has a lot of representatives, a lot of helpers throughout the world. And for I don't know how many years now, the mail carrier, the postwomen are the number one Santa helpers around the world, especially in the US. Since I was little, I've been sending letters to Santa, and well, Todd right here is a Santa helper. And Todd, how long have you been delivering mail for?
I've been doing it just over 15 years now. So,
how many kids, and I know there must be a big difference from before and then. How many letters to Santa have you received throughout the years?
Oh, it's hard to say. I would say, well, it's kind of dependent on your route, and I've had through my career, a lot of business heavy routes, so I don't get a lot of kids. But I've probably, in 15 years, could say a couple hundred, maybe 300 or so total. So I've been fortunate to have routes here and there that would have a little neighborhood of kids on there, and that would really spur it along. But like I said, through my career, I've had a lot of, I don't know, it's just kind of worked out this way. I had a lot of business heavy routes or a lot of elderly community routes. So I probably haven't gotten as many as a carrier with, more of a middle class residential type route.
And to your knowledge, so nowadays, are kids still writing to Santa as much as before, or has that watered down like everything else?
I think it's watered down some, and I think that's due to there's a lot of apps and things like that you can text Santa now and get a text message back, and so a lot of that's going on. I think parents are utilizing that. I know our town has a old retired mail collection box that they painted up in Christmas colors and put by the best, like, for lack of a better term, the city square, and kids drop the letters in there, so they don't really ever go into the post office. So I think things like that, and I think it's just technology's probably kind of gotten it more than anything.
And now, just besides the kids, when you have to deliver, I know for a fact this time is already getting hectic. And yes, thanks to technology, I know they spread the Black Friday up to the beginning, like from the beginning of this month. So I know that there's a lot of things. How is it? I know besides stressful and a lot of work, how is it knowing that you have the presents for?
Well, it's really exciting. For me, just being a Christmas lover all around, I really like it. And I really like going out of my way, especially on customers I know, I get to know throughout the years of delivering to their house, helping them out. And it is hectic. I mean, the way the parcel business has picked up with Amazon and then Walmart and Target and Kohl's and stores trying to compete with that delivery system that Amazon set up, and the convenience of it, it's just really exploded. In fact, there's certain routes that the mail trucks we use, they're called LLVs is what we call them. And those little box trucks you see, there's a lot of routes that will fill those things up with parcels in the morning and the rest of the mail. And they don't get all the parcels they have to deliver to in the truck. They have to come back later, or someone has to take, when they have enough space available, take the rest of them out to them, because it's just so many. When I first started the Postal Service in 2005, if you had 30 parcels for the day, that was a heavy parcel day for your route. Now, nobody's getting out of the Postal Service, no matter what kind of route you have, without at least 100. And for the residential routes and, the middle class, upper middle class routes, about this time of year, they'll be pushing 300 or better parcels. So we've had a 10 times increase in parcels just within, 50 years, so, or 15 years, I'm sorry, not 50 years, within 15 years. And it's really, the past few Christmases, it's kind of silly. Past few Christmases, it like gets busy for Christmas, but then the next year it just kind of stays at that level. And then it gets busier at the next Christmas. And then the next year it just stays at that level. There's not this roller coaster ride anymore. And it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. There's been a few times I've had presents come in from, for people that aren't in discreet packaging. And one I can remember is a family had ordered an Xbox One, and it just came in the Xbox box, and I want to just put the label on it. And I did not want to leave that on the front porch. And fortunately, they were home, and I thought, well, there might be kids at the house. So I left the box in the back of my truck and went and knocked on the door. And lo and behold, a kid opened the door, and I asked to speak to one of their parents. And the parents came out, and I kind of did a little bit of a code, so they could walk with me to the truck and get the Xbox and keep it away from the kids, so it wouldn't ruin Christmas surprise or anything. And he was real appreciative of that. And there's been customers that I've known well enough, I've would hold their parcel until I see them, because I don't want to leave it on the porch. There was one, I left a note on his door to have him call me because he had ordered an American Girl doll, and I did not want to leave it on the porch because of the neighborhood they were in. And I do different things like that. A lot of that stuff we're really not supposed to do, but I usually take the time around Christmas to ensure that everybody gets everything they want, and it doesn't take that much extra time for me just to ensure, the safety of their packages. And when I get a letter from a kid, I always ensure that they get a response back from Santa Claus. I have a direct line to Santa, so within a few days they get a response back, handwritten response back. And then Santa always sends me those Christmas letters that the kids wrote back to me about the end of January in a return envelope to their parents, so they can keep those in their little treasure boxes of kid stuff. So that's the way Santa Claus works on my route. I'm not sure about all the other letter carriers, but that's the way he works on my route.
Something that the message that I've been trying to spread, and I mean, I'm not trying, I've been spreading, I don't know how many years it's reached and how many eyes, because I've written it. It's just letting kids know that a bunch of the gifts that they ask from Santa, they come from the parents, because as we all know, the North Pole does not make electronics.
Right.
They get in communication with Santa. I mean, and the North Pole, they have the naughty and the nice list, because there's things that, kids do that the parents don't find out. But I always encourage kids just to ask for real stuff from Santa. And just the same thing that I want parents to know, that, there's some things that are not accessible to other kids. So, you kids tend to feel bad when, oh, Santa got him this, but he didn't get me the same thing I wanted, and I live next door to him. So I'm just trying to explain to kids that some of those gifts do not come from Santa. Because if you've ever seen a Santa Claus or a Christmas movie, you've never seen an elf, put together an iPad. Those are assembled in China and and delivered to the U.S. And the North Pole is not in China.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with a PlayStation, your Nintendos. Yes, you get them for Christmas, and that's because you've been a good boy and a girl, and that's from mommy and daddy.
Yeah.
But there's so many other gifts that come from Santa.
Yeah, we don't distinguish at our house. We don't distinguish what's Santa and what's not. It's just kind of all thrown into a pot. And when the kids ask, they'll hold up something and they'll ask, did you buy this for me, Dad? Or did Santa get this for me? I just say yes. So, yeah. So that's the way we do it around here. I do have one story. There was early in my career, the way it works out in the Postal Service, when you're new, you get what's deemed the worst routes, and that's the ones that have the most walking and in the let's say less desirable neighborhoods because of poverty and crime and things like that. And that's just where you start off, and you carry those, and then as you get further in your career, you can get routes where you don't have to walk so much, and they're in real upscale neighborhoods and that. And so it was getting close to Christmas time, and I was probably just a couple years in, and I was in this real poor area of town, and this kid was, I think PlayStation 3 was the big thing then, and he was out riding his bike, and he said something about Christmas, and I said, yeah, did you make out your list for Santa Claus yet? And he says, I wanted a PlayStation 3, but Mom says Santa won't bring that because it just gets stolen within a week. And that just broke my heart. It's like, man, it just broke my heart for that little kid to be in a situation like that. But
it's hard, and unfortunately it's a reality, and and you only get to see that by doing the type of work you do, unless you're a mail carrier, you're a social worker, or you just happen to live there. The rest of the world, just because you would have a nicer life than somebody else, you don't realize who's who and where people are coming from.
Yeah, it is. And I grew up very, I wouldn't say we were wealthy or anything, but we were very fortunate and very blessed, and I've been able to keep that for my kids. And that was something kind of new to me, but it was real eye-opening, and it broke my heart. And what that did is that actually spurred me on to one of the charities I really support now is our local Toys for Tots that the Marine Corps League does. And they do it nationwide. And the thing I like about it is all the toys you donate stay local, to kids that are in your community and in your area. And I'm not here just saying that, everybody needs to jump on Toys for Tots. There's lots of other similar charities that might be better in your area, or, and check them out. But in our area, we have a real strong Toys for Tots program. And, so after, having that little interaction with that little boy, I was like, I got to do something a little bit more than what I'm doing. And so I've gotten to where we donate stuff every year to Toys for Tots. And it used to be when the kids were smaller, we'd go to Toys R Us when they were open, and of course we have 4 kids. We'd have them all pick out a toy that they would like to have for Christmas. And they'd pick it out, we'd buy it, and then we'd drive over to the Toys for Tots thing, and then they'd have to put it in the bin, for somebody else, and just kind of teach that charity and things to them as well. And so that's another great way is getting involved in something like that's in your community. And
that just gave me goosebumps.
Well, like I said, our Toys for Tots is pretty strong here in Southeast Missouri. And guys listening to this, just, check out and see if, your Toys for Tots, they're everywhere. So they're not hard to find and to see. And some of them are probably stronger than others, or there might be a church or a community center or something that's doing a little bit better job. But, just the big thing is to make sure everything stays local. And I like it too, because they're not, you can give money and they will buy toys, but it's cool that you don't have to give money. You can actually go and buy the toy itself and donate it. And
just the fact of what you said, whatever you kids like, that's what you're giving another kid. And that's one of the things that I talked with Glenn earlier. It's I encourage parents to, if you know that your kid's friend cannot afford the same gift you're gonna give them, go out of your way to get one for your kid and one for his friend. But that's when you leave. That's what these are the Santa gifts, not the expense, because you're not going to buy 2 PlayStations, one for your kid, one for the other kid, but a toy, something that he really wanted that, that you could get for somebody else. So that way on Christmas morning, your kid is going to be like, wow, Santa brought me this. And then when he talks to his friend, wow, Santa brought me this too. It's I don't know how to express it, but it's just to make these kids happier, to keep the focus on the future. Because any little thing that we do for kids now, it's what's gonna have an impact when they grow up.
Yeah, I say it a lot on Christmas Clatter. It's I end every episode by asking people to keep Christmas hope alive every day, and that's all we're trying to do, is just to give kids a little hope, for a brighter future. And Christmas sits at that perfect time at the end of the year, right at the end of the year, and then at the almost at the start of a new year. And it's like, let's enter that new year with a little bit of hope, in humanity and in our neighbor, and to be a neighbor as ourselves. I've been raised in church my whole life, and one of the things that, in my opinion, that a lot of churches have forgotten that, was a call for Christians to do, is to take care of orphans and widows. And Christmas, we should do that every year best we can. And Christmas especially is a time to take care of those that really need help, and to kind of get back to those basic teachings, of the Bible, that everybody, no matter how they were raised, can get behind. Who's not going to be behind helping orphans and widows, and the other thing we're called to do is, if you see someone hungry, to feed them, or, if someone is in prison, we need to visit them, and just to be more charitable people. And Christmas is an excellent time to remind ourselves to do that. And like I said, it doesn't matter how you were raised or where you come from, or how you view religion or anything like that. But it's a simple acts of charity that I believe that 99.9% of people would get behind. And Christmas just emphasizes that, and as a way to help Santa Claus, and the idea of what Santa Claus is, that ultimate version of generosity.
Yep. I'm gonna send you a picture, and I'm gonna post this later on. I don't care if my wife likes it or not. Look at this picture. This was from our experience at the Christmas tree farm. They took quite a few pictures of us, but once we walked up to Santa, the feels that we had, my wife and I, and the conversation we had with him, even though there was a long line, he acted like we were the only ones there, and the interaction. And still last night, after I recorded with Glenn, I'm talking to my wife, and we're like, Santa Claus exists. Like, you stop believing it. It's what you make of it. And it might not be the direct Santa Claus, but what he represents. Because this wasn't a guy asking kids what they wanted for Christmas. This was Santa interacting with people. And one of the things that spooked me is like, do you have kids of your own? And we're like, no, not yet. And then he told us a story. Well, last year, a little girl came by, and she wanted a younger sister. And then he was saying, just a few minutes ago, we all took a picture, the little girl, her mom and dad, and her little sister. And I looked at him, and I'm like, well, I know what I want for Christmas. And
that's amazing.
And it's something that I'm like, I want, I want my kids. I want to have kids, but out of all the things that a person could ask you, just go directly to that and give us that story. And the sweetest person you could meet, and he's just standing there. It's cold. The sun is in his face, and there's a long line of people. They're not charging for you to take pictures for Santa. You could take as many pictures and videos and talk to him. and the way he takes his time and everybody else patient just to talk to him. And then the expression in my wife's face, because she's very shy, especially when it comes to speaking English. She's very shy, or speaking English in front of me, because she works in retail. So she's been doing it for quite a while. So it's just, I guess, in front of me. And, you know, it was amazing. It's the type of feels that I used to get when I was a kid, when I was watching a Christmas movie. And the fact that it just happened on Saturday.
Right.
It was, I guess, amazing.
Yeah. I like what you said, where where Santa Claus made you feel like you were the only two guys there. I just recently recorded an episode that'll be out soon, if it's not out already, with a singer named Luke McMasters. He's got a new Christmas album out called Christmas Present, and he's got a song called Christmas Present. And when you first read it, you think of like Christmas present as in gift, but it actually means like being present, in the moment, is what the song's about. And then I just finished that series, Christmas with Purpose. And one of the things I touched on is how we all need to be more in the moment and more present. And when we interact with people, be there with them, and to make sure that they are the most important person in the room when we're with them, not to be always looking at our watch when we're talking, thinking about the next thing, like listening to what they're saying and actually hearing them and responding to them in kind, because when you give someone your attention like that and you give someone your time, it just only increases, their mood and their spirit, and, and I've always heard, I've heard this a few times. It's like when we have an interaction with somebody, we're either, with what we're saying or how we're behaving, we're either giving life to that person or we're taking it away, because people never remember what you say, but they remember how you make them feel. And so that, this Christmas, as far as that generosity, is just be present with the people you're with, even if it's on a Zoom call because of the quarantine and all that, or if they actually get to come to your house or you get to go somewhere. Just, put the devices down and be present with them people, and enjoy that time. And because, time is our most valuable thing to give, because we only have so much, and so giving the gift of your time to somebody is, a wonderful thing as well.
We don't know what the other person's going through, and
No,
a minute, 2 minutes of our time could really make a big difference.
To circle this back to carrying mail, I carry a lot of elderly communities. And here several years ago, there was this lady, I would walk down one side of the street delivering the mail. I would cross over and then come back the other side of the street towards my truck. And she was on the second side of the street I would deliver. So she would see me delivering, and then she would go out on our front porch and meet me every day to get her mail. And I'd sit there and just chat with her for, I don't know, 5 minutes or less most days. Sometimes it'd be a little bit longer, but not much, 10 minutes tops. And got to know her over a little bit of time and things. And I was talking to her one day, and she like put her hand on my shoulder or my arm, and she started to tear up because she was a lady that lived by herself. And she says, sometimes you're the only person I talk to all day long. And I'm a softie anyway, and I about lost it right then, and I was like, well, and says, well, I said, I hate, I'm glad I said something. I can't remember what I said, to tell you the truth. I was
I'm about to lose it right now.
I just kind of, said something that I guess she liked or something, like I said. And then, so, from then on, it's like anytime anybody on my route, especially elderly people, that I made sure I had time to hear what they said and things, because you just never know. And, what people, like you said, people are going through or what's going on. And so, she looked forward to those 5 minutes or so that I would just take time to chat, and like I said, just the gift of your time is a gift that only you can give. Santa can't give that, but just I think we're talking about Santa's helpers and things like that. And we might have went a little further off topic than what you thought, but to be Santa's helper is to be a person of generosity. That's kind of what I take from it. Just if it's generous, if you are able to give and donate to charities, do that. If you don't, then your time is even more valuable than your money. So,
and I want to share my thought on this. We're not saying just do this on Christmas, because besides Christmas, there's 364, 365 additional days, depending on the year, right? That you could do this stuff. But this is the season where this is the time of the year where all these podcasts are listened to the most.
Yes.
So that's why you would, like, for example, with me, I've only been doing this for a few months, but right now it's like I'm pushing for it, but it's when I'm getting more listeners. So I want to share this message.
Right.
And it, like, my Pay It Forward segment, I mean, there shouldn't be a segment. It should just be a lifestyle, because that's basically like what I'll say, like 70% of my life is just a Pay It Forward. So right now is the time for us to spread the message. And we will talk about this stuff, past Christmas, past January, February. But since right now is when we have this concentrated audience, and every day this morning I checked my listens, my downloads, and before I sent you the link, I checked them again, and it went up like 6, 7. I'm like, oh. So I'll just take advantage of that. Instead of promoting any other stuff, I'll just promote love and care for each other. And when I go with Santa's helper, I know there's a lot of religious parties that don't believe in Santa, but there's a lot of people that don't believe in religion. And it doesn't matter what your background is. Sharing love, it doesn't have to come from a religion or anything. It just has to come from being a good person. It doesn't matter what your background is or what your beliefs are in. I'll just get the guy, Santa, and we're all his helpers. Just like, I was raised Catholic, but I do know a lot of people that don't agree anymore with the Catholic religion. That doesn't make them bad people, but then I'll go out of my way just to still spread love.
Right. Well, that's the thing is if you're, if you're living a life of, being charitable and being loving and being generous, I don't care what vehicle you took to get there, whether it's through religion or through Santa Claus or, through just you deciding to do that, as long as you're trying to be the best person possible, that's all that really matters, is that we arrive at the same place of being a caring people and a generous people, and like I said, it doesn't matter which, if you, and just religion in itself, there's just so many different denominations and types and different things. And, as long as you arrive at the place where you're the best version of you that you can be, that's fantastic. That worked for you might not work for me or somebody else, but I'm trying to get there too, so I'll take whatever vehicle I need to take to get there. And that's all that's important, is that we all end up at that same place of being more caring towards one another. And like I said before, more generous.
Yep. And kids, they don't know religion when they're, at a certain age. They don't understand any of this. They'll say and repeat what, as an adults, we teach them. But love, they'll get love. They'll share love. They'll spread love. They'll receive it. They'll give it. And just when I was growing up, I remember these songs and I thought they were corny, like kids are the future, blah, blah, blah. But now I'm the future. And now I'm looking back and all the things that it could have been different with me. And I'm glad that let's say cleaned up my act. It's not like I was a bad person, but I was just not caring enough, about certain stuff. And as I grow, instead of making it a better place for me, I might as well make it better for the people that are coming behind me, just because times are completely different. I mean, I didn't understand a bunch of things back then, but I do now. And I'm here, and if I'm able to make it, I want other people to make it.
Yeah.
And just, start out with the kids. I mean, as a grown-up, yeah, I could redesign myself. I could reorganize myself. Like I always say, I could replan and all that, but that's just me. But that's just me sometimes, because sometimes I'm that stubborn adult that, whatever. I mean, but kids, we have an opportunity with them. Even if we don't know them, I mean, I know there's people that don't like kids, but remember, those kids that you don't like, they're going to grow up to be just like you, and whatever you give to them, you're going to receive.
Yeah.
So I might as well just give love and make sure that all these kids are taken care of, focusing on Christmas, that they receive their Christmas gift, that they're not bitter. Oh, Santa didn't come my way. No, man. I mean, one kid, I know there's millions of kids that are not going to receive a gift, but if you can make a difference each year with one or two, kids, that you're gonna see the fruit of your labor, down the line, and that's guaranteed right there.
Yeah, there's a lot of for different religions, different religious people, they have different views on Santa Claus, and the way I've always looked at it, I grew up in with some people that just didn't like the Santa Claus because they were like, Christmas is all about Jesus and all this, and I'm like, there's enough folklore and stuff in Santa Claus to be able to teach the same teachings, of Jesus as the gift, that you could pair them together, if, as long as, you're thoughtful with it. And that's what I kind of did with my kids. It's like, it's just, this is opportunity to teach. I mean, you look at the teachings of Jesus, he used parables, which were stories or fables a lot to get his point across, so it's Santa's kind of the same kind of thing. We can get our story across of, generosity and love through stories of Santa Claus, as well as, other religious teachings to just kind of add to it. And the thing is through those stories, you teach your kids that, my kids are excited for Santa Claus, especially, but one of the things I'm most proud of is when it comes Christmas time is taking them to do the Toys for Tots thing. And then I would take them out individually, which with 4 kids, working a full-time job, it's hard for me to get like one-on-one time with each kid. And so one thing I started doing real early is around Christmas time, I would take one kid out to do all their Christmas shopping and spend, those hours with them. And then we would stop and grab something to eat, and different things. And, I have kids now that are 17 and 16, and they still want to go to their Christmas shopping trip with their dad. And I remember when they're littler and they're trying to pick out a present for their brother or sister, they're like, oh, they would like this. And they would grab something. And I'm like, no, they wouldn't. That's something you would like. You need to, I'd be like, you need to think about your brother, or you need to think about your sister, and what they would like. And all those years of just trying to be like, when we're shopping, think about the other. Now it's automatic for them. They already have ideas in their head, and it's really cool. And it's not magical. It doesn't happen overnight, but now when it's Christmas time, they're thinking more about what they're getting somebody else more than what they're going to receive, and as a dad, that's probably something I'm the most proud of, is, developing that giving muscle in themselves there. So.
I mean, I don't know what Christmas it was. It was, I guess, in the past 10 years, something changed. But I really don't care about getting anything. Like, I could get whatever I want throughout the year. And it's something that I go over with my wife the whole time. Like, I ask her, since it's just the two of us, what do you want for Christmas? But then I tell her, like, it's really hard getting you something for Christmas, because whenever we see something that we like, we just buy it.
Yeah.
But we're thinking about our nephews, our little cousins, and people that are back home. And throughout the year, we start buying Christmas presents. We just have one more shipment this year to send over there. But I care more about what other people are going to receive. I really don't want anything what I do want for Christmas is just have my Christmas shirts, my Christmas socks, my Christmas pajamas, but that'll wear, from November all the way till, mid-January. And that's what makes me happy. But I want to make sure that somebody got something for Christmas that they're going to remember. I don't really care about opening any gifts, even though she's been getting me gifts anyways and putting them under the tree. But it's not about, there's a time some people mature, some people, I know people older than me that they're still cranky because they want something specific for Christmas.
Yeah.
What I want for Christmas is for somebody to get their wish, to somebody, an adult, to get their dream job. Like, for example, I don't know, was it 5 years ago? I put a letter to Santa and I put a picture of my now wife. And I said, all I want for Christmas, and then her picture. And that's been my Christmas ever since. And after that, I haven't asked for anything else.
Yeah.
And it's corny, but I had that picture on my tree. And when she went to visit, she was like, wow, because we were barely going out. And it's been my Christmas present that, the present that keeps on giving, and at least she's on board for us to get things for other kids. And yes, the Toys for Tots, that's one of my favorite things that exists in the world. I don't know. When I was growing up, I saw it as some, big magical thing, but the way you put it and the way that I've seen it, it's way bigger than I thought. If you see my Christmas village, I do have my Toys for Tots building with the soldiers outside and all that. And like you said, there's so many other things that you could do, but just to name one that it's going to click.
Yeah.
Toys for Tots.
Yeah. It is a good charity. And, I know a lot of people look into like charities and, how they spend money and things. I haven't took a deep dive in it that way. But I don't really need to, because the great thing about them is, like I said, you aren't donating any money. You're donating actual Christmas gifts, so it's each Toys for Tots, like I said before, all the gifts stay local within your community. So it's not like don't get me wrong. I don't mind people that do the shoebox things and then mail them way far off. There's a big charity that you fill up a shoebox full of like little things and you mail them like to kids in other countries. That's fine. And if that's your thing, do it all you can. But I personally am more of I have enough need within my local community that I need to help first before I start sending a bunch of stuff, way far off. And that, I don't know, it might seem a little selfish, but it's like, I just feel like if I take care of my community here best I can, and Manny, where you're at, if you take care of your community best you can, and if everybody did that, stayed locally, wherever they're at all across the country and around the world, then that's the best way to help. Yep. It's easier. It's easier for me to help the guy across the street from my house than it is for me to help the guy across the street from your house.
Yep. And I've seen, because I used to be a wholesaler. When you send things to other country, you might send a shoebox full of stuff, and half of the stuff sometimes make it, not all of it, because most of the times there's somebody in the middle wanting to make a profit out of that. And just like you said, keeping it local would be the best way. It's not because we don't care about the people over there, but there are other people over there that they could take care of that part right there. Yeah. And we're never going to have that perfect world that we dream of, but we could have that perfect neighborhood. We could have that perfect connection with the people that are around us. And if you create that around the world, then
yeah, that's the thing. It's like if my city, if I take care of my city and we, let's say, you can't fix all the problems, but hypothetically saying we do, if I take care of my city, we fix all the problems, then my city can help the neighboring city. and then the two cities together can help a bigger area, and it just can grow and expand from there. And then, but if everybody starts where they're at and does that, then it's easier to spread it out, especially in the United States. We're just, people I think forget, with all the press and the craziness of 2020 and all this, all the news stories, we forget how blessed as a country we are and how lucky we have it compared to rest of the world. And it's it's time to take some of that and be a more charitable people, and back to Santa's helpers. And when we do that, then we are being Santa's helpers, and because not everybody gets to deliver packages like I do every day. So
not everybody gets to interact. Just like you said, you give your time of day to somebody.
Yep.
But I mean, I think I've given my time of day, I don't know, to older ladies at store lines. Like when I'm buying something and they ask me about it. At first, when I was younger, I would start to get annoyed until I would realize before the conversation was over.
Yeah.
What, that person might have been lonely, or that person might have been interested to buy the same thing I had, but they didn't know what it was. And at least 99% of the times I've walked away with a good feeling in my heart that I helped somebody, that I talked to somebody. And like I said, I wouldn't have before the best attitude. I'm like, why is she talking to me? What's wrong with her? But towards the end of the conversation, I realized that I have grandmas, and then they might be looking for something for me. And they would ask, somebody that resembles me, what it was that they have in their hand. How does it work? Would it be good for this person? Then when I worked in retail, then I went, getting the point. I'm like, oh, okay. And now I just say hi and bye. And I could have these conversations with random strangers and just have this feeling, just walk away. And now I do appreciate that. Before, like I said, even if it happened 100 times, the conversation would end great. But at the beginning, I didn't know why they were approaching me. And now, I see the value of talking to somebody. I mean, you don't know what somebody's intentions are, or how their day started, or how their day, based on destiny, was supposed to end. And based on your conversation, your smile, your reaction to them, your attention to them, you might have just changed that whole person's, the rest of their life. Because they might be mistreated by, and I live close to Atlanta. There's a lot of cranky people over here.
Yeah.
But if you change one person's attitude, that might be a car accident you avoid. A family being disrupted, that you avoid that. And it's not exaggerating, because I've seen it. Like the way you would, be towards other people, what you give to them in terms of love, that'll change somebody's outcome. And I felt it myself, knowing that that's how it works. I'll wake up. Like I woke up yesterday, all the bones in my body hurting. I was cranky in the morning, and just see something or feel something or have an interaction would change the rest of my week. Like today, my bones are still hurting and everything. I don't know why. Great vacation. But, all these conversations with all you hosts from your podcast, and the conversations that I've had with my wife, with my family back in Puerto Rico. And it's been hard, a hard year. This is kind of like a side note right here. We just lost a very close family friend to COVID.
Oh, mercy. I'm sorry.
And my mom was distraught. And after this all happened, my nephews were at my mom's house. So at least they were there to cheer her up. But this was just, another slap in the face. There's a lot of people that they're like, well, I got COVID. I'm still alive, whatever. And there's things that are, worse in it. But when it hits right that close to home, it's like, life is short. This person didn't even have a fighting chance. 1 week she was fine. The next day she wasn't. And then a week later, that's it. Right. And it's going to be a sad Christmas for them. It doesn't matter how much we try to cheer them up. And it's going to be a sad Christmas for thousands of families that have gone through this. But instead of focusing on, oh, this is so sad, we could focus on, helping them get through this, and then not forget about them next year, because they're going to be 1 or 2 family members short than they usually are. It's just spreading the love, keeping up with them, especially that they are kids.
Yeah.
Like, this lady had a grandson that she lived for him. And I mean, we all that have her on Facebook, we saw how dedicated she was to her grandson. And for example, there's so many families that have gone through this and will go through this until this is all over, and other stuff besides the COVID. It's just not just that one thing. And well, it's just a matter of, cheering them up. A lot of people will be like, oh, well, they're sad, they have to mourn. Yes, but they have to continue living. There's other living family members that are there, and we can't let them get depressed. We can't let them get sad all the time. Yes, they have feelings. They will. And my advice is just listen to them, let them express themselves.
Yeah.
But they still deserve a Christmas. They don't need to party, but they still deserve a Christmas. They still deserve to receive love, that know that you're there. I mean, we can't go and hug everybody now like we used to. But like you said, a Zoom call, FaceTime, a voice message, a text message. I mean, a letter.
Yeah.
As long as that person or these people are receiving the love, that's all that we could do. I mean, and just make every day better for them. And I don't know, just be a good person, and don't, even if you feel bad when you wake up, don't stay with the focus that you feel bad. Always, go out of your way to help somebody else, and trust me, you'll feel better. Like I said, all my bones are hurting, but just these conversations and the things that I'm planning and the things that I'm going to do this week and the things that I've done, like, yeah, I go to sleep sore, but I go to sleep happy. Yesterday, I woke up, I'm telling you, I'm going to, like, how I felt, miserable. Like, my joints were hurting and everything. I'm like, wow, this is great. But as the day went on, like, things started like looking brighter and brighter. And then I finished off the night with a recording with Glenn.
Right.
And the conversation is touching. It's like I said, there's a lot of podcasts that they'll discuss movies and shows and stuff like that. And I love that, because that keeps me in the spirit the whole time. But these things, touching on real world things and the things that we could do without having to spend a single cent, or not having to invest all this money, because it is an investment when you do this. It's either monetary, emotionally, or whatever. You're gonna get a reward back, and it's not a reward that you're gonna be able to touch and get, but it's gonna be it's feeling, and that's all I want to spread.
Yes.
Like I've said on the Discord, if you want to discuss a movie, just invite me to your podcast, and we'll discuss the movie. And throughout, I will talk about movies throughout the year, but not. I would focus always on just spreading the message, because it's not just because it's Christmas, but because it's Christmas and we get more listeners, that I'll focus more on this.
Yes.
And we need every single person out there just to help us carry this on. And it's not just for Christmas. You could do it throughout the year, but you're listening to me now, and you're probably not going to listen to me again till next November after, the Christmas season. But just keep in mind that Santa's, just like we tell kids that Santa's looking over them, how they behave the whole year, the naughty and nice list, how, that's the same thing that goes for grownups. So we could do our good deeds the whole year, not just wait for Christmas. But on Christmas, when there's a lot of people that they have family members that are deployed overseas, still, there has, in the past few years, there haven't been that many deployments as before, but there's still people that have family members that are away. Like, all my family's away from me. It's just my wife and I. And we have to get together and just share the love and stay connected, even if we're not going to be able to hug, that family member, especially on Christmas time, but keep doing it throughout the year, regardless.
Well said, my friend. Well said.
It's about the feels. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, all my episodes are gonna sound familiar at one point or another, but it's just getting it out there. And and I know there's other people you could share with us, more ideas, more charities, more food drives, more food banks. I'm new in the area, and I'm looking for a family or two or three, whatever I can, to at least get them a Thanksgiving dinner. But like I've said before, if it's not Thanksgiving, it's Christmas. If it's not Christmas, it'll be throughout the year, because we don't only eat on holidays, we eat every day. And whatever impact I could make. And it's not, I'm saying it because I want to share the message, not that I'm doing, no, because I've probably done so many things, and you've done so many things, and so many people do so many things. It's not just to share what we've done, but to share with the possibilities of things that can be done.
Right. I know, working with different charities, they'll take all the help they can get November and December, but January through October is when they really covet the help. And that's just not money. That's just actual help, whether it be a local food bank or anything like that, a women's shelter, whatever charity hits a chord with you individually, and only you can decide that, because everybody has a different passion. Some people are more into kids charities and, being advocates for kids in certain situations. And some people might be, more into animal charities, just whatever charity, you're passionate about, find it and be involved year round, and because they, we have Black Friday, which the stores always, say they go into the black on Black Friday and they gear up all the sales. Well, charities are kind of in the same boat. They're kind of forgotten until the holidays. And like I said, they'll love your time and donation at the holidays, but they really need it throughout the year. And taking this back to carrying mail, we didn't get to do it this year because of COVID, but every May, letter carriers do a national-wide food drive for local food banks. And that should be coming up in May. And, that's a easy one. You just put canned foods, you'll get a flyer in the mail saying it's on a certain day. It's usually the Saturday before Mother's Day. And you just put a bag of canned food out by your mailbox, and your carrier picks it up that day. And, and being involved throughout the years, just, that's where it's at. Everybody asks, well, why can't it be like Christmas every day? And it's like, well, why aren't we giving and being as generous like it's Christmas every day? And so.
And that's why you're one of, Santa's main helpers. You're out there, you interact with people, and you've seen firsthand how this year has been different from others. And even if you don't receive that many letters from kids, and you don't deliver that many gifts to kids' homes, you still create an impact, because kids are the future, but we're still in the present.
Yep.
We're still, living the today by today, and every day is going to be today.
Yep.
And the only thing we can make different is today. The only way tomorrow is going to be different is if we start today.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what day you hear this. It's as easy as that. I mean, if you want to, give a really good Christmas present, like Todd said, charities need us from January to October. So besides, all year long, but from January to October, there's not as many helping hands as that's in Christmas. And one thing I will ask, and this coming directly from me, and a lot of people would agree, just go out and give the love. Do not post on Facebook where you're at. Do not post the pictures. Do not post the videos. That's when humbleness is lost. Just do it because you care. I mean, you could do it every single day and nobody needs to know about it. The what you're doing will be spread out. Other people are going to see it when you're doing it. But if you're posting on social media, you're just going to spread the same toxicity that's going on right now. People are doing it just for the attention. Don't, if you decide to give somebody money on the street, don't record that. Do not.
No.
You don't need to have proof of what you're doing. If you're religious, God's out up there and he's looking at you. if you don't believe in that, you know, you're paying it forward. You're doing something good. You know, you don't have, it doesn't matter what your background is, just do it for yourself and for that other person, not for others to see. We don't have to demonstrate anything. We don't have to show anybody anything. Just give, and that's it.
Manny, you're so right on that. And I'm gonna drop a bomb here. If you give somebody money and you record it, then you're not being generous. You're being a narcissist.
Yep.
You know, you know, I've been in a place where I've left big, you know, not monstrous size tips, but good tips to waiter and waitresses around the holidays. And I usually hand it to them and walk off before they even see what it is, because I'm giving it to them. It's, you know, I'm the kind of person, my rewards will come down and I'm not even doing it for any kind of reward later on. It's like, I'm doing it because it's something I want to do. And then I'm done with it. It's not recorded or anything like that. It's just, I'm doing this and it's done, you know, but I cannot stand the viral videos of the cell phone recording of someone giving the waiter $1,000, and it's like, you're doing that for yourself.
Yep.
You know, you're wanting everybody to see what you did. You know, it's not about giving to that person.
And you're spreading the wrong message.
Yeah.
And one thing, yes, when you said about tipping, I grew up on that. When I met my wife at the beginning, I mean, it's not that I give the biggest tips, but I work for tips. Yeah. And when I was little, when my mom started with my stepdad, he worked for tips. Uh-huh. So he always showed us that, you know, that's what people live off. Mm-hmm. And at the beginning, my wife would question me, like, why are you doing that? And I told her. I try to explain to her, but after we've been together, I tell her, you woke up healthy this morning, right? Mm-hmm. You had food in your refrigerator and your pantry and your cabinets, right? Yep. Mm-hmm. So they should have it too. Because we ate this morning. We woke up, even though they work in a restaurant, you don't know the background. And some of these restaurants, it's, you know, they exploit people. The hourly is so poor.
Yeah.
And people, you know, wanting to get a service without compensating, it's sad at times. And and sometimes you do get that cranky waitress. You're like, I don't want to tip her. Mm-hmm. But you don't know what she's going through. And you might, and I mean, you can tip whatever you want, but just always appreciate that that's somebody doing their job. Just like when you go to work and let's say they short you an hour or two, they're going to tell you like, oh, you know, you didn't work as hard in that hour. You're going to feel bad because, you know, you're supposed to get that hourly set. It doesn't matter what you do, but I think of that when it's other people, and the fact that I've been in the position of living off tips and having those horrible days that you're like, oh wait, well, I kind of, you know, miscounted, and now I'm not going to make it through the end of the week or the end of the month, mm-hmm. or just scraping. And and just do it for yourself. And I'm not saying, oh, I tip well. I tip because mm-hmm. I've lived off of tips, and I was raised on that belief. And I know so many people like, oh, why would you give them that much? Why wouldn't I? I know mm-hmm. I know for a fact I'm going to be able to eat tomorrow. I don't know the day after, but I know tomorrow I'm going to eat. So I'm going to make sure that whoever is serving my food, whoever's bringing my stuff, could eat tomorrow. I mean, I'm not going to be able to mm-hmm. take care of the whole week just because I don't know if I'm going to, you know, things happen from one day to the other. But if I already ate today and I know I'm going to eat tomorrow, I'm going to make sure that somebody's eating today and eating tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And these are things that we could do. And it seems because I've read it that people posted, if you don't have money to tip, don't go out and eat. And I would just go by that message. I mean, and it's not that if you don't have money, if you don't want to tip, because even when I was down, I would go out and eat and I would tip. Like mm-hmm. I would even when I was broke, I would have my money and I would make sure that I would tip well at a place, just because mm-hmm. I knew tomorrow I was going to eat. So I was going to make sure. It doesn't matter what your financial standpoint is. I mean, we waste so much money and so many unnecessary things. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And I wasted more money when I was younger and I didn't make a grown-up salary. I had a teen salary, and I still had to pay adult bills.
Mm-hmm.
But if I found something unnecessary and I bought it, then I know, instead of that, I could just, help somebody get to tomorrow. At least for that part.
Yep, absolutely.
It's just, let's spread joy. There's a part of this episode that once I'm editing it and I'm hearing it, you made me tear up earlier, and I'm gonna tear up again. I know, because I'm just thinking about it again. But yeah, give people your time, pay it forward, be Santa's helper. You don't have to be delivering mail-in packages to be Santa's helper. Just be kind and share love to everybody, especially kids, because the way the world is going right now, social media, online, and all this stuff, it's changed the course from when we were growing up, when our parents were growing up, and it's so easy to spread a message now. But if we spread the wrong message, like I see every day online, it's not gonna be this, it's gonna be even harder. But if we all get together and don't change people, just change yourself. The only way you're gonna see a change around you is if you start by yourself.
Yep.
Just spread the good word.
Michael Jackson said we got to start with the man in the mirror.
Yep. That's touching right there.
Yeah.
And guess what? We have every day that we open our eyes and we see the sunlight, as long as you're not working overnight, right?
Yeah.
We open our eyes in the morning, we see that sunlight. That's a new opportunity.
I've been there on the overnights too before I started working in the postal service. But
I started my first job was overnight. And when you have your first job as a grown-up overnight, that it depends the attitude that you take towards it. It made me bitter.
Yeah.
And I promised myself I would never work overnight again, and I broke that promise to myself so many times. You got to do what you have. You got to do what you got to do, but in order to make things happen, the things that you want to do, you have to focus on them and work for them. Yeah. You're not. They're just opportunity is not going to knock on your front door.
Right. I was just glad I was in my 20s when I was working overnights. I don't think I could handle it now.
Me neither. Nights were meant to sleep.
Yeah. I'd come home and it was like you felt weird all the time, and you could sleep anytime you wanted to, or you could stay awake for as long as you wanted to. It didn't matter. It was just your body was. It doesn't matter how black you try to make your bedroom, you just don't sleep that well.
No, it's not this. And when you see people around you with all that energy, you're like in a 3D movie where the battery's dying down. You're like, what is this? Why are they talking so fast? Why are they moving so fast?
Right.
Well, when I did that the first time, I used to have a moped.
Uh-huh.
And it was like 10 minutes away from work. But at 7 a.m, like, it seemed that those 10 minutes were eternal, and that all the cars on the road were just flying.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be going 35, 45 miles an hour, and I would feel like it was like 100-mile trip.
Yeah.
It was eternal, but I'm thankful that I don't have to do that now. If I have to do it, I'll do it. There's no shame in that, but cross my fingers I don't.
I was the same way. One of the jobs I had that I worked overnights, I was about 30 minutes drive from the house. And I'd get on the interstate, speed limit 70, and I think, well, I'm going 70, and I look down and I'm doing 55, but it feels like I'm just racing because I was so tired, And the night I knew I needed to get off of nights is I remember leaving work, like I said, I had a 30-minute drive. I remember leaving work, and then I remember being a few miles from the house, and I don't remember anything else in between. It was like all of a sudden it was like time warp. It was like I don't remember getting on the interstate, driving the interstate, or nothing. It's like, how did I get this far? And that's when I was like, I need to find something else to do. So.
Nope, this is not. And I know people that love doing that overnight stuff.
Oh yeah.
And kudos to them. I do admire them. You know, they're a bigger person than I am. They're braver, but I just can't.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have kids, and I was in my 20s, so it worked out just fine.
So yep, I'm gonna cut this part right here. So yep.
Yeah.
And this is gonna be it for our Santa's Helper segment. It went a lot longer than I thought, and hopefully you did appreciate all this, and just share it. Just share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. We're not telling you what to do. We're just encouraging to spread the love, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Just, to be Santa's helpers, to be a person of generosity. Something Ebenezer Scrooge had to learn, how to be generous.
And if he could, we all can.
Yes.
I do thank you, Todd.
Uh-huh.
This is amazing, and I know we still have a few more recordings throughout the day today, and the week started out with these recording and the messages and the feels. I'm telling you, just hearing you, it gave me goosebumps. I teared up. I'm happy. I am so happy, and I'm thankful. And I think I've said it on every recording, even if it's on the air or not. But I always express it, especially when I have somebody either on the other side of the audio or just like you in front of the camera. I appreciate the Christmas podcast host, and I appreciate everybody that's on that Discord, because I don't feel alone in my thoughts anymore. I thought having an obsession with Christmas, and it's not an unhealthy obsession, it's a great obsession.
Yeah.
I thought it was a crazy thing, and being, so anxious waiting for Christmas to come, I thought it was crazy. But after I've, interacted with all of you, especially in a year that is so lonely, because I work and I see hundreds of people every day and all that, but it's still a different year. And finding this community, I'm beyond words. I'm beyond excited. And I'm glad I could share the space with you guys. I'm glad that when I get invited to other podcasts, and I'm glad when people come over to my podcast, because unlike anything I've done before, there's somebody always trying to one up you. And in this community, everybody's trying to help you.
Yeah. Yeah, it is the Christmas Podcast Network is a really well-kept secret for some reason. And hopefully that'll change. It won't be such a secret, but it is great having all the podcasts wanting to make sure everybody succeeds equally, because, it's a small, tight knit group of hosts and other podcasts, but it's like, we just want everybody to have success along the way, and to, because that's what Christmas is all about. It's not about looking out for your podcast all by itself. It's for, helping them all out. And thanks for having me on. I appreciate the invite.
All right, Todd, and where could they find you on social media, and where could they hear you on what platform?
Well, you can listen to Christmas Clatter Podcast anywhere podcasts are available. So you just have to search it, Christmas Clatter Podcast. I'm on Facebook and Instagram as Christmas Clatter Podcast, at Clatter Podcast on Twitter. But if you just want to go to ChristmasClatterPodcast.com, all the social media links are there, and all my episodes are there uploaded. So you guys can just listen from one spot. It makes it easy to find.
That's awesome. And I like it when people say that you could find them on anywhere podcasts are played or found, because I could say that too. And I'm excited that I could say that too. At the beginning, I was like on 3 platforms, and I keep repeating myself on this one, but now you can find me anywhere too.
Well, it's not exactly true. You can't find me on SoundCloud anymore, because SoundCloud requires you to pay to be on there. So,
who is SoundCloud? What is SoundCloud anymore? Right?
Yeah, they don't. I don't need them.
We're not aspiring rappers anyway, so.
Yeah. I was not getting very many listens on SoundCloud anyway, so I was like, I'm not paying $10 a month to be on SoundCloud where no one will listen. So, but anywhere else besides SoundCloud, I'm there. So.
Yep, and you could find us on a bunch of different people's podcasts.
Yep.
You just,
Yeah,
I mean, there's enough material there for you to hear, and you'll be excited once you hear us. So.
Yeah, you can hear Manny on an episode of Christmas Clatter available soon, where we recast a very popular Christmas movie. And Manny has a very interesting choice of characters for his recast. You don't want to miss it. And
no spoilers.
No spoilers.
All right, and we'll be ending this episode with Feliz Christmas, Merry Navidad. Bye, Todd.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget, you could find us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at FCMN Podcast. You could also find us on our website, fcmnpodcast.com. You could write to me, Manny at fcmnpodcast.com. And where can you listen to us? Well, you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Google Podcasts. You know what? I'm going to make it short. You could just listen to us on any podcast platform right now, just the one of your choosing, your favorite podcast platform. So yes, Feliz Christmas, Merry Navidad.